What to do when stress is getting in the way of romance? And can CBD oil improve your love life? Everything you wanted to ask about sex, but didn't. Now you can ask Dr. Leah, sexual health expert and associate professor in the Department of Health and Human Performance. Here she is, the lovely Dr. Leah.
Thanks, Derek. Great to be here with all of you today. I'm Dr. Leah Janine. We're here to answer your questions about sex and relationships. We have a lot of the latest research with a little common sense. Now let's get right to our first question.
Absolutely. Here's our first question. A viewer wants to know, is it okay to use CBD oil for sex?
I'm not sure if they want to use it orally or as a lubricant. If it's as a lube, then the answer is yes. It's natural and has anti-inflammatory properties that can make sex more comfortable for both partners. CBD can increase your pleasure as well. It increases blood flow to the tissues that in turn increases sensitivity and your body's natural lubricants. It also helps relieve anxiety and set the mood for performance. CBD is becoming more popular for lovers. In a recent survey, a majority of people who used it said that their orgasms were more intense.
Okay, so you talk about lubricants, topical. How about oral consumption of CBD?
Yeah, you could also take CBD oil orally before having sex to help reduce performance, anxiety, and improve blood flow. Some evidence points to CBD as a potential stimulant for sexual desire, but it really depends on the person. Some people just find that it just makes them so relaxed that they're not wanting to have sex.
Wow, okay, yeah, don't stay away from that one. Dr. Leah, a viewer says, I am getting more self-conscious about my body and it's affecting my sex life. What can I do to get in shape quickly?
Well, diet and exercise. If there were a magic pill, we would all be taking it. So you need to fill your diet with what is called minimally processed foods, such as fruit, vegetables, and lots of protein. Try keeping a food diary of what you ate, how much, where, and when. There are many apps that you could download on your phone that could add up all your calories and your macronutrients, and you may be surprised by how many calories you're actually consuming. Some people also track their mood and who they were with to see if emotional eating patterns are spurring them to eat more calories than they should. You could also try weighing and measuring your food. So measuring might feel like a pain at first. I've done it, but you'll get used to it. It will make you more aware of the foods that fill you up and what foods just aren't worth all the extra calories. Knowing this can help you make better dietary choices. So consider investing in a food scale, small scale that measures ounces and grams of food.
Okay, that's a lot to digest, no pun intended, but can you tell us about what's the best kind of foods to ingest?
Well, best types of foods, minimally processed foods, so fiber, protein, really, really important. They are going to be your best friends, especially if you're trying to lose weight.
So, Dr. Leah, why protein and fiber?
Well, simply because the satiety aspect, right? So fiber makes you feel more full, and you're not going to be absorbing all the calories that you're ingesting with that fiber. It also helps everything move along in your digestive tract. Protein is the same way. It also helps increasing satiety, as well as you need it to build muscles. It might keep that hair and skin healthy. So yeah, definitely need all of those things.
Excellent. At the beginning of your answer, Dr. Leah, you mentioned something about apps. You mentioned, what are these apps that you mentioned?
Well, the one that I use is MyFitnessPal. I love it because it is wonderful for people that are lazy and don't cook much, like myself. So you can just scan the barcode and it goes into a diary and it tells you your fat, your carbs, your protein. And then it could also have like your sodium intake and various other things that you want to track. And you could set goals. And each day, it's green if you hit your goal and red if you didn't. So it makes you more aware. Like you want to see all those green lines at the end.
Yes, that's kind of cool because, keeping a log and all that, I mean, it's a great idea, but a lot of people just either forget or it's just very time consuming.
Yeah, just scanning that barcode makes it so much easier.
Yeah, for lazy people like me, that'd be great, actually, and immediate results, you find out what's going on. You also mentioned, how about exercise? Would that help?
Yeah, exercise daily. So you want to start half an hour every day. If you're not exercising, if you're already exercising, you can change various levels of intensity. There are many different routines that you can do. Strength one day, cardio on another. It really just depends on what you want to change about your body. But don't forget intensity. You want to be a little bit tired after your workout, and you can build up and gradually progress to be more and more intense.
Okay, but not too tired where you can't perform. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Then you're defeating the whole purpose of this.
Dr. Leah, a man says, my partner isn't open to using sex toys, but I think it would be fun. How can I get her into them?
Well, as always, you want to begin by having a conversation about it and make sure you don't come across like you're complaining about their sexual performance. Explain that you want to try something new and exciting and talk about how you feel. So are you curious or are you excited about adding sex toys in? Be clear about what you really want and ask him or her how they feel. If there's a certain toy you want to try, talk about it. And if he or she isn't into that toy, then you need to be willing to compromise. If your partner is uncertain, checking out toys online may give you both an idea of what is comfortable and what you're each comfortable with. Or go looking for a toy together at a local sex shop. Exploring all the different types could end up as a fun experience and help your partner overcome any hesitancy about sex toys.
And speaking of hesitancy, perhaps a lot of times these toys seem to be, especially the battery operated, they have all these buttons and sounds. It's kind of be intimidating in a sense. Probably stick to the more simpler ones. Would you recommend?
Yeah, well, you could start very simple and then get very complex. I mean, there's a wide range of sex toys. You can start with as cheap as about $10 all the way up to a couple $100. And there's toys that are aimed more towards men and more towards women. And then there are toys that are ranged towards couples. So there's a lot of exploring that can be done. And if you're too intimidated by a sex shop, like I said, online is great.
If you have a question for Dr. Leah, please send an email to questions@allhealthtv.com. You can find out more about sex talk at askdrleah.com. Coming up on Sex Talk, talking to your kids about sex. Plus, we head out to ask you questions in our new feature called Taking It to the Streets. And then, Dr. Leah talks to a sexual health coach who offers advice to help women get more pleasure during the sexual experience.
Talking to kids about sex may seem like a touchy subject, but some experts suggest that having conversations early could be helpful.
When talking to your kids about sex, it can be difficult to know when and what to say. It's important to remember that sex is a broad topic. For example, discussions about anatomy, privacy, and consent are just as important as the birds and the bees. Many experts suggest starting the conversation early. Doing this will create a safe space to talk about sex and allow the conversation to continue. Sometimes parents struggle to find the perfect time to talk about sex, only to find there is no perfect moment. Plus, waiting can make the conversation more uncomfortable or awkward for all parties involved. No matter how young you start talking, make sure the conversation is age appropriate. Some people suggest using anatomically correct names when children are young, treating them like any other body part they would learn. Once they're a bit older, discuss topics like privacy and allow them to ask questions. As they age, appropriate discussions could be about puberty and eventually sex. As a parent or guardian, take time to explore what they're learning and fill in the gaps. Know what they're learning in the classroom and continue to have conversations. The earlier you have conversations about sex, the easier it can be to continue them.
And think, how did your parents talk to you about sex? How did you get the information on sex? Answering these questions for yourself can help you figure out the best approach with your kid. Coming up, can yoga really help with ED? Plus, we have some tips on dealing with stress and sex.
We are on the streets. Typically, you guys are asking me questions, but now we are turning the tables and I'm asking you all questions. So I have to know, who do you think is the sexiest celebrity and why?
Myself, I'll go with Shakira. She got all the movies and everything, and
Hips don't lie, baby.
Right,
what's the
hips don't
theme,
lie,
right?
right.
Yeah, all right.
You
babe.
know who I'm going to say.
Go ahead and say it.
The Rock.
The Rock.
Okay.
Wait, because of his personality.
Yeah.
He has such a great personality.
That's all.
The problem is that I probably only know people like 40 and older. So Angelina Jolie from 20 years ago.
Jared Leto. I love the whole bad boy vibe.
Do you want to go first?
Oh, I gotta say Mila Kunis is
Okay.
a beautiful woman.
I used to like Johnny Depp growing up.
Oh, there we go.
Which is weird. He was a weirder one.
Kind of rebel, kind of
Rebel.
different
Yes,
kind of guy. That's how you like.
definitely.
Is he a rebel?
No, I realized the rebels aren't good.
Yeah, some couples maybe this, hey, you know, if I wasn't married to you, I might be with such and such a movie star. That's why I would think about who would be your sexiest celebrity type of.
I'd have to think about that. Why don't you ask?
Okay, there's nobody right on top of my mind. That's a good thing. How about you?
I really can't
Nothing?
come up with anybody right now.
Good answer.
There we go. All right, so what is either the best kiss you've ever had, or what are some secrets that you think make a good kiss?
Let's see. I think the ultimate for a good kiss is hold back on your saliva. Nobody wants your saliva in their mouth. Let's just keep it clean and kosher.
Eye contact. It's all about eye contact. You know, it's kind of like, you know, the secret to the perfect high five. If you look at the elbow, you're going to always land. So have a target in mind.
Okay.
Execute, then close eyes. Don't go in blind. That's when you hear a lot of nose-to-nose action. Gets messy.
You know what? Eye contact at first. I mean, you can close your eyes, but you got to be able to open.
So are you guys like open your eyes the whole time?
I mean, no, I don't.
I can't picture the eyes open and making
No,
out.
but you got to open at some point and then close them. But I like it's the eye contact.
Just to
It's the
remember
touch.
where you are,
Yeah,
who you're
it's-
with, and
yeah.
it makes it that much better.
Or you open your eyes just to see if she's enjoying it and vice
you
versa.
doing that? See, I don't
Is
do
she
that.
looking at her phone or something?
With the guy next door, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Like The Rock. Where's The Rock? On TV somewhere.
That's not The Rock.
Welcome back to Sex Talk. Joining us today is sexual health coach Kimberly Billick. Welcome to Sex Talk.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. So, what is your best advice for helping women improve pleasure in their lives and in the bedroom?
My number one tip is really to get to know your own body and knowing what brings pleasure to you. So one thing I get a lot of my clients to do is to have a pleasure practice. And that's exploring your whole body with different touch, pressure, maybe using silk, different material. And until you really know what brings you pleasure, how could you ask somebody else to give you that?
That's a very good point. So what are some ways for women to experience even more orgasms? Because there are some women that are only able to have one that really want that multiple orgasmic experience.
Letting go, being open to receiving, and connecting with your breath. So simple. Think you could be about to have an orgasm and you think, I have this to-do list, and there goes that orgasm. So if you connect with your breath, I'm also a yoga therapist as well. So as the yogis say, if you are fully connected with your breath, you are present. So if you are connecting with your breath in sex, then you're connected to your body, to the moment, to the pleasure that you are experiencing, and that's gonna improve your orgasm.
So how are you connecting with your breath?
Taking slow inhales. So something I like to teach is cosmic breathing. So it's taking a deep inhale right from your pelvic area. As you inhale, feeling the breath coming up the front side of your body, comes to the crown of your head. And as you exhale, it's coming right down the back side of your body, down to your tailbone and looping around. So it's that circular feeling. And when you really connect to that breath like that, it actually connects you and your partner. Have you heard of Tantra?
Yes, oh yes.
Part of Tantra practice, right?
Yep.
So just really connecting to your breath like that.
So would you recommend somebody try this before they get in the bedroom, like a couple rounds before then you're actually in the bedroom with your partner?
And that comes with your pleasure practice, right? So really connecting with this breath and this cosmic breathing on your own. And then you could bring your partner before you actually have sex, just connecting to breath.
Absolutely, and a lot of women claim that they cannot focus during sex. They're thinking about everything else that they have to do. So these types of activities really can just keep you in the moment right there.
100%.
And kind of along that same theme, we've always heard for women, the brain is going to be the largest sex organ. So can you elaborate on that a little bit?
It kind of goes back to what we've been talking about, right? So if you're fully connected with your breath, connected with your body, you're not going to be thinking about your to-do list and everything that you have to do. So it's just really turning off your brain and everything else that needs to be done and focusing on yourself, really knowing that you deserve to receive pleasure, because I feel like a lot of women I've worked with have been told something in their past, whether it's from family, society, ex-boyfriends, husbands, and they feel they're not worthy to receive this pleasure. So just knowing that. And also a lot of moms, they're always giving. So one thing I tell the moms, I'm like, when you get in the bedroom, you're open to receive.
Awesome. And one last thing, what advice would you give to men who really need help in how to pleasure their partner?
I would say for them to actually open up communication and ask their partner what they are desiring and what they're wanting, and just being fully open to what they're gonna get in response from their partner.
Absolutely, making that a comfortable forum for discussion. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kim, and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Sex Talk.
Still ahead on Sex Talk. We'll hear what to do about pain during sex. Find out if yoga can help with ED. Hear how sex pillows work. And see how to calm things down when you're too stressed for sex. That and more coming up next.
Welcome back to Sex Talk. Let's take on some more questions.
Here we go, Dr. Lee, our next question. A woman says, my husband loves to have sex, but it's painful for me, and I haven't been into it lately. I have endometriosis. I am not into oral. What can I do? And what is endometriosis?
Well, endometriosis is a common disease when the tissue, like the lining of the uterus, grows outside of the uterus. It can cause symptoms like pain and heavy bleeding. Painful sex when you have endometriosis is common because penetration and other movements can pull and stress endometriosis tissue. If you're on hormones or had a hysterectomy because of the endometriosis, that can cause vaginal dryness, which also leads to painful sex. You could try different positions that put less pressure on the areas that contain endometrial tissue. Being on top will let you control the speed and the depth of the penetration. Other positions you can try, like spooning or using a pillow to raise your hips, or even doggy style. Extend your foreplay also is another great way because it will increase your natural lubrication, or you can just use a commercial lube that you buy over the counter. Try slow and gentle penetration. You can also have intercourse at certain times of the month. It may be less painful the week after you ovulate or 2 weeks following your period. Other times of the month, indulge in other forms of sexual pleasure, like masturbating each other. And of course, talk to your husband about how you feel.
And also, from the husband's perspective, you know, we need to be reminded sometimes, because once we get into the emotions, sometimes we're so into, we kind of forget. So just a gentle reminder, honey, remember, it hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with what felt great last week isn't feeling great this week. Like, sorry, I'm just not into this particular position or this type of sex.
There you go.
Got to be clear, otherwise how is he going to know?
Absolutely, you're right. Our next question, a man asks, can yoga really help with ED? And how does that work?
Well, yoga can help with ED because it promotes blood flow and relaxation. There are a number of positions you can try. One is a sitting position with the legs extended out front, and it can help relax the pelvic muscles and increase blood flow. There are also standing positions that provide an intense stretch, which is something that can help with anxiety. Another type helps with blood flow in the lower abdomen and groin, along with flexibility. There's also the bow pose, which is a floor move that stimulates the reproductive organs and blood flow. So yoga is not only good for ED by making it part of your daily routine, but because it helps relax you and reduces stress and increases flexibility, all of these things can be great for your sexual functioning.
And imagine if you want to do it with your partner, is that tantric sex?
Well, those are two separate things, but it's similar. Tantric sex is typically thought of as slow and relaxing. It doesn't have to be, but typically also blood flow and getting into one another's vibe and feeling and breathing, and all of those are very similar to yoga.
If you have a question for Dr. Leah, please send an email to questions@allhealthtv.com. Find out more about Sex Talk. Go to askdrleah.com.
Whether you're someone with mobility or joint issues, or someone looking for more pleasure, there are tools that can help.
Sex can push anyone's body physically. If you're looking for a way to take some stress off your body, or just trying to experience more pleasure, sex pillows may help. Sex pillows offer support to the body, and there are different types of sex pillows. A sex ramp is larger and is meant to support the lower back. A sex wedge would be smaller and could be used to support any area of the body, such as the pelvis. Any type of sex pillow can work by taking pressure off of certain parts of the body. They can also work by shifting your body in different positions. This could allow for penetration from different angles, or even deeper penetration, which could lead to more pleasure.
Simply adjusting your position by using a sex pillow could lead to an even stronger orgasm. Let's take on some more questions.
Great. Here's a question I believe is going to help a lot of people because it's not just for this one particular viewer. A man says, I know sex can help with stress, but I feel too stressed for sex. How can I break the cycle?
Unfortunately, stress can also affect your sex drive, so it's not surprising that you feel too stressed for sex. One of the biggest ways it affects your sex drive is by increasing one of the hormones, cortisol, which lowers your libido and also helps you gain weight. Stress can also cause changes in your body like weight fluctuations, which can make you feel unsexy. And then there's anxiety and depression that can accompany stress. All of these things can make you feel like you don't want to have sex. But there are things you can do. Find outlets for your stress. Yoga is a great one. So is any type of exercise. Getting a massage. Try figuring out what is stressing you out and then see what you can do to eliminate or minimize that stress.
What if you're just too tired?
Well, if you're too tired at the end of the day, try to find time for intimate togetherness with your partner during the day. Also, get out of the bedroom. You want your bedroom for good sleep. When we see our bed, you want to think of sleep. That's understandable. So move it out of the bedroom, move it out of the bed.
Maybe get adventurous and
yeah, absolutely.
maybe on an airplane or in a car or in the park or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want to get arrested. So you want to be cautious there. But being intimate with your partner can really help you relieve the stress. And if you're still having trouble dealing with your stress levels, don't hesitate to seek out professional help.
Question number 7, Dr. Lee. A woman asks, how can you use tracking your cycle as a form of birth control?
Well, what you're referring to is the rhythm method. That's where you track your menstrual history to see when you will ovulate. You should be able to tell what days to avoid sex or to use the barrier method like a condom. Some women use it if they have a medical history that doesn't allow them to use other forms of birth control options. Other women do this for religious reasons. There's clearly no risk, but it is considered the least effective birth control method, and it doesn't protect you from sexually transmitted diseases. What you need to do is record the length of your menstrual cycle, counting from the first day of your period to the first day of your next period. There is an updated approach to the rhythm method that works best if your cycle is between 26 and 32 days. And this method, you start the same way by counting the days in your cycle. On day 1 to 7, you're not considered fertile. Assuming your cycle is normal, on days 8 to 19, you're considered fertile. And then on days 20 to the end of the cycle, you're not considered fertile and can have unprotected sex. Again, this is the least effective birth control method.
You mentioned normal cycle. What is considered a normal cycle?
A normal cycle is considered 28 days, but some women may be normal for a couple of months and then not normal for other months. Some people have a much shorter cycle and some people have a much longer cycle.
Got it. So maybe sometimes if you're too stressed out or something going on, everything changes. Okay. And Dr. Lee, I've also heard about taking your temperature. Does that work?
Well, yes, it is a way to know when you're more fertile. Not a perfect science at all, but your temperature's typically relatively normal, then it increases when you're ovulating. But the increase is very small.
Okay. But if you have a fever, don't even try anything, right?
Yeah. Then you're going to think you're ovulating for days when you're not.
Yeah, right. And Dr. Leah, our last question of the day, unfortunately. A viewer says, I saw a social media post on vabbing. Do people really do that, and does it work?
Yeah, vabbing is a combination of the words vagina and dabbing, and it refers to the vaginal secretions being used instead of perfume. It started big on TikTok a few years ago. Many women used it to boost their sexual attraction because they believed it contained pheromones. So they dabbed their erogenous zones and then touched their wrists and throat. There's no scientific proof that vabbing works for humans. When it comes to pheromones, they're found in animals and insects, and they have various uses, not all of which are related to sex. But there is no reason not to try it if you want. Even if there's no scientific proof it works, just the idea of it might make you feel more sexy and confident.
I guess just even the placebo effect.
Absolutely.
Right?
And hey, the placebo effect is real. It works a lot in like pain medications. I see it in research all the time. It works a lot in terms of sexual supplements. I've done the studies. I've seen how people are affected by it. So, hey, if it makes you feel sexy and it certainly doesn't hurt anything, why not?
Excellent.
Well, Derek, that is all the time we have for today. But you can still send in your questions. I'm Dr. Leah Janine, and we will see you next time. We answer the questions you've always wanted on Sex Talk.